playing the Evolution app today from North Star Games. This is on the iPad once again, and I'm demonstrating the game, but I'm also demonstrating the what I call the Omnivore strategy, or the one carnivore and efficient herbivore eating machine strategy that I typically use whenever I play the game. I either typically use it, or I typically lose to it if somebody else gets a more successful combo out there before I do, or one that's able to destroy my carnivore. So I lucked out here, and I started with my carnivore card. So I went ahead and created my carnivore species and my one herbivore species. So there's a ton of food in the watering hole. And once my carnivore feeds, I'll take off these burrowing creatures. First, it'll go into auto feed, which is one of the greatest things about the digital version of this game, is if there's enough food to fill up everybody's belly, it just automatically does it and goes very quickly. So taking out those burrowing or any defensive trait when the opportunity arises is always the priority, probably in any game. So when putting food in there, I don't see really a whole lot of good efficient eating traits here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in the that defensive herding there, and then just maximize the number of species that I have, so I can maximize the number of cards that I get in between turns. Dropping that 8 on top of that 7, I mean, that's 15 just from me. So I don't think I'm going to have any trouble feeding that number of species, feeding 4 individual species of herbivores. And that way I can get the maximum number of cards per turn in order to build up my carnivore and hopefully get my more efficient cards as far as watering hole feeding, like, cooperation, foraging. Now, another key to this strategy is being the only carnivore out there, because you don't want to be putting any defensive traits on your herbivores, because that just lowers, it doesn't help your efficiency when it comes to eating. Plus, you want to be able to feed on your own species in the event that your opponents are so well defended that your carnivore cannot feed on them. Okay, yeah, so everybody's adding a lot of food here. So all of mine are going to be able to be fed. And again, I'm going after the burrowing creature over there because I'm the first player. And, once they're in the ground, unless you have intelligence as a trait, then you can't get after those guys. So again, it's on auto feed, which is probably one of the best features of this game. All right, so pack hunting, as far as this strategy goes, pack hunting is probably one of the best traits to have on your carnivore, as it pretty much negates the hard shell there and makes it so that you can focus on your population sooner in the carnivore's growth, instead of having to raise his body size right away. You can just start feeding on everybody, and that really keeps your opponents in check. I lucked out getting the climbing trait here because my opponents, 4 of my opponents have the climbing defense, so I pretty much have my choice of what I can do here. So now I'm not going to go with my carnivore first. I mean, I need to use my herbivores to deplete that watering hole to prevent my opponents from getting as much food as possible. So once our watering hole feeding is done, then we go after everything with the carnivore. Now I'm going to lose a population on one of my species because there just wasn't enough food out there. And if it comes right down to it, I'll just go ahead and feed off that one. But my priority here is to knock down the number of cards that my opponent is going to get on the next round. Looks like I can knock down each of them down to a single species, which will be outstanding. Okay, so I am, on this coming round, I am getting the maximum number of cards you can get per round, and they are getting the, well, almost the minimum. Like, if they didn't have any species out there, they would get one less card, but, oh, and now I have two cooperations to add into my line. I don't need many other cards than that, and this game is quickly running away in my favor here. So I can just build up my herbivore machine. The opponents are not getting very many cards, so I don't have much fear that another carnivore is going to be coming out this game. And yeah, oh, there is no food in there, but that's okay because I have that long neck, which has already fed most of my people. I'm going to pick up 4 right here, so this is not a problem for me. Now the question is, am I going to get my carnivore fed? I've got that climbing hard shell over there. That's an easy target. Yeah, well, he's my only target. That's another great thing about this game is when you do have a carnivore, it makes it very easy to see who you can attack because they get highlighted. Now the grayed out one, over on the right, he can be attacked, but he has horns, so it's grayed out, meaning I can attack him, but I'm going to suffer a consequence, or something's going to happen. It'll be grayed out if I had the intelligence trait as well, meaning I would have to discard a card in order to attack that person. So that grayed halo or gray outline serves a number of purposes in the digital app here, but it certainly makes the game a whole lot faster. Alright, so we can just continue to build up the herbivore eating machine. I did drop a scavenger on that first in line on that of the herbivores because obviously we're running out of food here. So hopefully I can supplement their diet with the remaining scraps from my carnivore because my whole goal here is to run out is to deplete all of the food in the watering hole to prevent my opponents from being able to maintain their populations. Now, my opponent on my right has high populations because he has the carnivore, the scavenger trait that's keeping him up as long as I continue to attack. So right now he's my biggest opponent, but I'm still going to take out the one on my left because I want to reduce the number of cards that he gets per round. So there's no more food out there, so he's going to lose that other hard shell. So now I can switch to the guy on my right and just knock his population down as much as possible, which wasn't much, but so now I'm just getting a ridiculous amount of food every round. At this point, I mean, if I was playing at a table on the real game with real people, I'd probably back off a bit because I probably would have backed off before this because to dominate this much in a game, it's uncalled for. You know, I may have even backed off to the point where I would lose the game, knowing that I would have won if I would have pushed as hard as I'm pushing right now. But in the sake of just having fun playing the game, which is really my goal when I'm playing at a table with real people, it wouldn't much matter to me if I won this. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to keep on keeping on. Alright, well, let's see how much food we have out here. Not a lot, but I am the first player, so I'm going to deplete that by 4. Now, if I had foraging on each one of those, that would be outstanding. I would be getting 8 out of the watering hole, and that would be ridiculous. But now I've got 3 spots on my herbivores that I need to fill up. So I need to go after these small guys first so I can feed at least 3 times so that I don't lose any population. And now I can just start whittling away at the gamma right. I mean, this is going to get to the point where my food score is going to be higher than, just my food score is going to be higher than everybody else's total score. They don't have any populations. They don't have very many traits out there. And this is just a runaway game. But that is probably very near the best you can do running this combo. I wouldn't expect to see that very often. And more often than not, you're going to have to fight another carnivore out there, which will also slow down your point totals. This is a ridiculous score. The app isn't even set up to go over 100 graphics-wise, but that's the Evolution Digital app. It's an outstanding app. It does have an online component that never seems to work for me, so I have never played an online game. I've gone into the lobby, and I just sit there, nothing ever happens, and I really don't have that much time to dedicate to waiting for an online game to start. So yeah, I sit down for 10 minutes, play a game, and that's the end of it. But if you haven't played this game, or you haven't played the app, I certainly recommend it. And they've started on weekly challenges that also add a little bit of interest to the game, because I can just drop in here and use the same strategy over and over, and 10 times out of 10 beat my opponents using that strategy. But with weekly challenges, there's sometimes it's win a game without losing a single population, which I wouldn't have won on this one. Win a game completely on a vegetarian diet, and I obviously wouldn't have won on this one. And then they have leaderboards for that, so that is an opportunity to interact online, even though the online lobby doesn't work for me. But at least you can go on the leaderboards and try to beat other people's top scores. It is an outstanding game. Highly recommend it.